original time. It is about May Rain. Please put your hands together for a wonderful spoken word artist. And let's hear it for May Rain.
Hello, everyone. Hello. It is so difficult to get in character after Karen. I'm sitting there like, meditate. I can't. But I'm so excited to be here. And of course, if you were here last year, you know that we rose and we continue to rise as Black women, and we are magical. And so here is the piece that I wrote dedicated to this moment, right? I'm a product of my mother's faith and my father's last attempt to be faithful. Grandmama say, girl, you was born with a gift, now don't be wasteful. Hard to process at 10 years old, unexplainable fire burning in my soul. We are cut from a cloth that's no longer sold, they call it magic. Well, I have it. And I come from a long line of Black girl magicians, pulling survival hats out of kids while folks do disappearing acts. You gon' get this. Dirt under my fingernails, clawing my way out of a system designed to keep me desolate. With these bare hands made something out of nothing. With this bare heart made love to a king. This is the definition of Black girl magic. See, magic is Cookie Johnson still finding the magic in magic. It's being the very fabric of your family, the very logic in its insanity. It's holding it together when the world is constantly scrutinizing your brokenness, ostracizing your hopelessness. Call a Black girl angry when she forget to smile, but forget to call me genius when every culture mimics my style. You gon' get this Black girl magic. You gon' get these acrobatics, universe in my womb, weight of the Black man on my shoulder, baby bouncing on my hip, freedom in my kiss, bondsman in my call list, bail money in my bosom. This is turning lemons into hand grenades. Razor blade under my tongue for massa, abracadabra, African diaspora, escape route hidden in my dialect. Oh, you gonna get this Harriet. You gonna get this Black girl magic, whether you want it or not. See, Black girls, y'all say yeah? Yeah. Black girls. Yeah. Black girls. Yeah. You are magical. That's why sometimes the world can't see you. Y'all give thanks. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for that. So I also have the amazing job of introducing someone that I am just awed with. I follow her on social media, right? And I'm always wondering what she's doing, because she's always doing something amazing for her community, and I am impacted by that. So I'm grateful to honor her in this moment. I'm excited about this. Judge Helen Whitener. Yes. She's practiced on the Pierce County Superior Court since January 2015. A former prosecutor and defense attorney, she is the second Black female on her bench. Y'all give it up for that. Yeah. She is the only Black female judge on any court in Pierce County. Y'all please give it up for that. And the first openly lesbian or gay judge. Y'all please give it up. Born and raised in the beautiful Caribbean island nation of Trinidad and Tobago, she is also the first immigrant-born judge on her bench. Give it up for that. In June 2015, at the request of the U.S. Embassy, she visited her home country to speak on human rights. Judge Helen Whitener was appointed in 2017 to the State of Washington Minority and Justice Commission. Y'all give it up for that. She was chosen to teach street law at Lincoln High School in Tacoma during the 2017 and 2018 school year, and was selected to be a faculty member of the Washington State Judicial College for a 3-year term starting in 2019. We are so honored to have her here with us this weekend. After the keynote speech, we will be treated to hearing advice, opinions, and stories from a multi-generational panel of activists. Without further ado, please welcome Judge Helen Whitener. This is how I know I'm magical, because women like her lead us. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Now, Baim is absolutely amazing. Isn't she? All right. Women have historically been intimately involved in major human rights systems and movements, addressing the elimination of systemic racial, economic, and misogynistic barriers. Yet history has been mostly silent on our contributions, our accomplishments, and our stories. The silence has allowed others to define who we are and control how we are seen. The silence has allowed others to tell our story without our input. The silence has placed us in a subservient position, a position of servitude. Now, synonymous with servitude is inequality, and Western European culture has tied identity to institutional systems with associated systemic barriers. Race and inequality, gender and inequality, sexual orientation and inequality, immigration and inequality. Labels assigned at birth that preordain lives to one of servitude, enslavement, oppression, and powerlessness. A person's race, sex, or sexual orientation may tell you about that person's biology, but it does not tell you anything about the person's abilities or potential.
Come on now.
All right. I was raised to stand up, stand out, and stand fast. I was taught by my parents and teachers that I am a descendant of kings and queens, that I should always act like it, and I could be anything I wanted to be. From birth, I was taught to rise, that I mattered, that I was worthy. Yet when I maneuver this world, the very essence of my being is constantly attacked. So how does a woman fit in when she was born to stand out? I made the choice many years ago to be vocal, visible, and vigilant, to demand not only to be heard, but also to be seen, to be treated and respected as an equal. Even though society had a different plan in store for me, I must admit I missed a memo. The memo said, "You're black, stay back. You're a woman, lay back. You're a lesbian, step back. Or you're an immigrant, go back." Black women have been targeted for hate, targeted for vile rhetoric, targeted for division. The goal is to instill fear and to silence our voices. Women, this is our time. We must stop accepting mediocrity and instead demand excellence. Excellence from ourselves and excellence for ourselves. Recognize the power of our individual voice and the power of collective presence. Sisterhood is inclusive of all women. It is global, it knows no color, but a sisterhood of black women knows no boundaries. Women who have benefited from privilege, it is time to acknowledge the reality of what is happening to your sisters of color, your lesbian sisters, and your immigrant sisters. But all women need to acknowledge what is happening to our transgender sisters as they're being killed and no one seems to care. Black women and women of color, what is happening today is more than a Black Lives Matter movement. Ours is more than a Me Too movement. What is happening is a no more movement.
All right.
No more targeting us for the color of our skin. No more excusing bias, intentional or implicit. No more accepting your dismissive and disrespectful actions with your answer that it was not your intent. That will no longer be allowed. No more treating us as second-class citizens. No more daily doses of microaggression. No more pretexts to remove us from society asserting that it will make the community safer. No more caging us so you can steal our 15th and 19th Amendment right to vote. No more imprisonment of our community for addictions, yet treating your addiction as a mental health problem. No more reformulating the script to suit your needs without retroactive application to address ours. No more removing the bloodstains of our ancestors by misrepresenting the truth of our history. No more sitting at the back of the bus. That battle was fought and won. We can drive and we can own the bus. No more trumping our First Amendment right to free speech and peaceful protest by attacking our 14th Amendment right of citizenship. No more. No more assessing a woman's worth as connected to her genitalia. No more redefining her accomplishments as that of a man's. No more feeling like women need to be taken care of when we can take care of each other.
That's right.
No more whipping us so your low self-esteem can be elevated. No more blaming a woman for a man's transgressions by attacking her credibility. No more. No more. No more hiding who we are so you can feel comfortable in your blissful ignorance. No more loving who you want for us rather than who we want for ourselves. No more denying our sister's rights just because she was born our brother, or our brother's rights because he was born our sister. No more seeking acceptance or agreement or tolerance of our existence. We are willing to help you work through your fears, but your discomfort is your own to bear.
That's right.
No more. No more laying down rules as if we're the help. No more telling us to go back to where we came from when this is our home.
That's right.
No more denying us the right to stand with you simply because we are unable to stand. No more deflecting our plight to elevate your cause. If we say our lives matter, then remove your blindfolds and look and listen as to why we are saying it.
Yes.
No more standing by me by doing nothing to resist my enemy. No more. No more. No more. Systemic discrimination institutionalized in our justice system has ensured that the voices of women of color continue to be unheard. The result is a lack of diversity within the ranks of the justice system, on our police forces, and a lack of voluntary participation with the justice system. A historical theme that comes from being disenfranchised from citizenship for people of color is slavery, internment, mass incarceration, and immigration. These institutions place people of color in unequal positions of continuing servitude. Until adequate solutions are found to address these systemic problems, history will be doomed to repeat itself. Today it is clear that a lack of acknowledgement of what has historically silenced the voice of disenfranchised women, specifically women of color and transgendered women, has led to the voice of all women being attacked on a level not seen before. Yesterday it was me, and tomorrow it may be you. Women who have benefited from privilege have recently begun to acknowledge the pain of their sisters of color, standing in numbers not just with us, but sometimes for us. A gender-equal society must be inclusive of all women, which includes lesbians, bisexuals, and most importantly, transgendered women. It is true, there is strength in numbers, but the numbers do not matter unless we make them count. A Native American judge once said, "When you are not counted, you do not have to be served." My sisters, our struggles are one, and our strength is in our numbers. Even though we have differences, we are not truly different. The achievement of equality for all requires an inclusive approach that recognizes the crucial role of building partnerships with others, and that includes men. A fundamental legal principle in the law of civilized nations is that everyone must be treated equally without special privileges, discrimination, or bias. Another cornerstone of a well-functioning judiciary is the appearance of impartiality. Impartiality is intertwined with perception, and a bench that reflects its society is integral in promoting public confidence in the ability of the courts to make sound, responsive decisions. Many people of color perceive the justice system as lacking in substantive equality, and the perception of nefarious decision-making is prevalent. To eliminate this perception, diversity must be a priority rather than an afterthought. A diverse bench of human beings enhances impartiality as more varied experiences and perspectives are drawn upon in interpreting and applying the law. Judicial diversity, or the composition of our courts, must be as inclusive as the populations it serves. All of us are profoundly shaped by our personal experiences, and our view of the world is filtered through what we see and hear in our day-to-day lives. Judges are the human face of the law, and a judge's notion of justice is molded by that judge's unique life experiences. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor said, "It would be a travesty to the population served if their justice is reflected only in terms of the white male experience, because experience matters both in informing the court's opinions and in ensuring that the population feels like it is part of the process and not like an outsider looking in." The law has always been gender and race sensitive to one group, white men. Diversity is a human rights issue. It includes the maxims of acceptance and respect, and it recognizes that everyone is unique. Diversity is not synonymous with white genocide. That rationale plays on prejudices that imply certain groups lack competence and are less worthy. Historically, that rationale was meant to instill fear, to maintain the status of servitude, and to silence collaborative efforts. For Black women and women of color to be visible, collaboration in the struggle is required to provide sustainable solutions. Safe spaces for dialogue regarding discrimination are a must. For access to justice to have meaning, to eliminate attitudes, norms, beliefs, and practices that perpetuate discrimination, action that is executable is necessary. Creating a committee to study the issue is passé. We know what the problems are. Black women, women of color, we have fought for the right to sit at the table, and a few are privileged to be seated. Do not become complacent with having obtained a seat. We must be vocal, demand not just to be heard, but demand to be understood. Otherwise, we are wasting a seat by being silent with inaction. Now, when seated, be vocal and demand what you need and want. And if what you need and want is not served, then you must take your personal and economic wealth elsewhere and create it. Women, we can no longer settle for crumbs. No more waiting for others to act for us. We must act for ourselves. We must deploy our individual and collective power so we, Black women, women of color, and all women can rise together as one.
Woo.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward." So Black women, women of color, women, rise, stand up, stand out, and stand fast.